Good afternoon and welcome once again to the Israelite Nation Worldwide Ministries virtual Bible broadcast. Hello everyone who's out there all across the world listening to us. I'd like to introduce myself. I am Elder Garth. To my right is
Elder Castrilli of the Israelite Nation.
And directly across from me is
Elder Frederick Malcolm of the Israelite Nation.
And today we're going to have another lively discussion. A couple weeks ago, got into a conversation with somebody in a cafeteria. We're going to get something to eat, and I was asking the person behind the counter what's in that particular dish of food, and they told me, and the person that I was with asked me why I was asking that question. So I told them, I don't eat certain things, and, based on my religion. And they said, why? And I said, well, there's instructions about what you can and cannot eat. And the person said to me, yeah, but that's done away with.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
We can eat anything we want now.
Mm-hmm.
And they pointed to another scripture. So that was the genesis of this discussion, and I hope that we could attempt to shed some light on that subject this afternoon.
Sounds good.
Yes. I believe today's topic of this discussion is Rise, Peter, Kill, and Eat. And I guess that would be the beginning of that sort of scenario.
Mm-hmm.
Reason why we're having this discussion today.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've all been in these similar situations, and we're always being asked and then being told. It's funny how it works out. We're being asked and then we're being told it's
right.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
To eat it.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question. Many of us weren't Israelites from birth.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we came into this truth. My question is, aren't there things out there that you would look upon and something within you tells you, without knowing laws or statutes or commandments, that that particular thing you should not eat? Don't get me wrong. Many people say lobster is extremely tasty.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look at a lobster and you see that the skeleton is on the outside, doesn't something inside of you tell you,
something's
I
not
probably
right.
shouldn't eat
Something,
this?
yeah.
It could also be subjective, based on that person, on that individual. So, it depends on the person and who
Mhm.
you're talking to. It depends on the individual.
Mhm.
People have their own individual and personal taste, so what might seem grotesque to you,
That's true.
another person might look at it and say, you know what, I can eat that.
That's a very good point. That's
So-
a very good point.
To begin with, what we're going to do, as we always do, three things that we want to cover and make sure that we're all on the same page. So those who are listening, we're so happy and glad that you decided to join us. So the number one thing that you want to do is, number one, get a KJV version of the Bible, the King James Version, number one. Number two, please take notes. And number three, of course, contact the Israelite Nation, because we'd love to hear from you, your questions, your concerns, your comments.
feedback.
Yes. That way we know that, the communication has begun, it's in the process, and that, this is worthwhile, that what we're doing. We love to do this, but we want to hear back from everyone else.
Does the audience out there understand why we use a King James Bible?
I do believe they do, but
They do?
by all means, if you'd like to, Elder Kistrilli, if you can share that.
Well, the reason that we use it is because it's the original English print that is available. It was printed in 1611. So this is the reason. All the other so-called Bibles, they take from that one and they so-called simplify it or explain or put their interpretation in there.
Yeah.
You've just given us an idea for an upcoming discussion on virtual Bible.
Really?
We could go deep into that one.
Mm.
Yeah. So also, remember, you could also contact us through Facebook at Israelite.nation. In addition to that, you can follow us on Twitter at Israelite Nation. And if you have any questions at all, you can certainly email us at questions@israelitenation.com.
All right.
Okay.
So we have the slide that's up there right now, and there was pictures of various animals
Right.
up there. Maybe we can go back to that. Go back to that script, that slide that we had before. There we go.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
there we go. Perfect. Some people out there eat monkeys. Some people out there eat snakes. Some people eat rabbits.
Rabbits, yeah.
Some people eat rats, salamanders.
Whatever they can kill.
Whatever moveth upon the face of the earth, as they say.
And sometimes even if it doesn't move.
Sometime even if it doesn't move, they will eat it. And then they always say, it tastes just like chicken.
Just like chicken.
And my argument is, if it tastes just like
Why
chicken,
just not eat chicken?
Why not?
I'm okay with eating the chicken. So where do we get the basis for what we as Israelites can and cannot eat? Where do we get that from? Obviously, the book of the law, Leviticus,
One of the books of Moses.
yep, the 11th chapter,
Mm-hmm.
verses 1 through 30. It gives us a detail of what we can and what we cannot eat. For whatever reason that may be, some seem obvious, some are not so obvious, but nevertheless, the instructions are there, so we try our best to follow them.
Mm-hmm.
But what of this scripture that the individual spoke of, which is the Genesis of rise, Peter, kill and eat?
Right.
What of that scripture? I know that a lot of people oftentimes say that Peter had a dream on the rooftop and he was instructed that now he could eat anything that he wants.
Anything.
And so therefore all those old instructions that we find in Leviticus chapter 11
Are gone.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And Peter ate it, and the voice told him that he could eat it, and so now we can eat it.
Eat. Just eat.
Eat whatever.
Whatever.
It doesn't matter.
Does not matter.
It bears no,
It's a new era.
Yep. If you want to eat an octopus, you could eat an octopus. If you want to eat a duck-billed platypus, you could eat it. Kangaroo meat, throw it on the Barbie, and that's good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
But you know what I always think, Elder Garth, is that there had to have been a reason, a causality as to why the God of Israel would instruct his people to begin with, to separate the animals and to say, okay, well, this one is clean, this one is unclean.
There's got to be a reason.
Yeah. I sometimes think that he just put too much effort into it, to the point where he would detail. Like,
Yes.
if you missed something,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
couldn't have missed an animal or a creature or
Mhm.
a sub-creature or a crustacean or anything. You
Yeah.
could not have missed.
And that's what I was saying earlier when I mentioned that some of the rationale you can see clearly,
Mhm.
i.e., many of the birds that are noted that we shouldn't eat are either birds of prey
Mm-hmm.
or scavengers,
Right.
right?
They have
Many-
a purpose.
They have a purpose.
They have a
Many
purpose.
of the things in the sea are also either scavengers or eat other fish.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look closely, some of them seem to make sense.
Yeah, it would seem so.
Right? Others aren't so clear. But again, there's got to be a reason, as you were saying.
And logically, through time, you know that whatever was categorized as clean
Mhm.
or unclean, they would not change. Obviously,
No.
they wouldn't be categorized now. They're unclean, become clean. Obviously, these animals,
Mhm.
that would not change,
Sure.
regardless.
Right. So let's dive into a few of these scriptures.
Sure.
Good.
As
Sounds-
we alluded to earlier. Now, the first scripture that we have is Leviticus chapter 11. And from the first verse, we see here that, And the Lord spake unto Moses and to Aaron, saying unto them, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, These are the beasts which ye shall eat among all the beasts that are on the earth.
Wow, there's a lot in that verse
Yeah.
already.
Right away. It's very profound, because a lot of times we will come across conversations and we will get into discussions, and I don't know if you've heard this before, but many people have told me that, well, those laws that you follow as an Israelite, and those statutes that you follow as an Israelite, well, Moses basically got those from the Egyptians. And Moses took those laws from the pyramid text and the coffin text, and he just translated them and gave them to the Israelites.
Wish I had $100 for every time I heard that.
Oh man, I would be a millionaire by now, just like yourself. But you can see here.
Here
Yeah,
it
go ahead.
says something different, right? What you just said.
There is a distinction, because
Yeah.
when you examine those certain texts, I doubt that you would find specific dietary laws that would
You don't.
instruct.
You don't.
Uh,
You're right.
a race of
I've
people.
looked at it, and you don't.
Yeah, you would instruct them, okay, well, this is what you should eat, and this is what you shouldn't eat. So in going forward, we see here that verse 3, Whatsoever parteth the hoof, and is cloven-footed, and cheweth the cud among the beasts, that shall ye eat.
That's pretty plain, no?
All right.
Yeah.
So, what about a cow? Can we eat cow?
Right? A cow, the hoof is split, right?
Yes.
It chews the cud, which it eats grass.
Right.
Right? So.
Is that what chew the cud means?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
As far
okay.
as I know, from what I've chew the cud, to chew the cud, it
Okay.
means to eat grass.
All right.
And is cloven-footed, and cheweth the cud among the beasts, that shall ye eat. Nevertheless, these shall ye not eat of them that cheweth the cud, or of them that divideth the hoof, as the camel, because he cheweth the cud, but divideth not the hoof.
Doesn't have all the above.
Right.
Right.
So
Yeah,
the criteria.
Yeah,
it's
doesn't
all there.
have.
So indeed that he cheweth the cud, but divideth not the hoof.
So what is he then? He is unclean unto you.
He is unclean unto
Right.
you, children of Israel.
The children. This is the point.
Right.
This is
Yeah.
the point.
Yeah.
Because
So everyone else could eat it.
Yeah.
you know?
Yes.
The guy in the cafeteria that I
Yes.
had the conversation
Yes.
with,
Yes.
that's okay if they want to eat it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to eat it because I'm the Israelite.
Correct. You're not going to go around in that cafeteria slapping people's hands and say, "What are you doing eating that? What are you doing?"
Well,
you,
no.
as an Israelite, will not touch it, but everybody else, if they want to eat it,
That's fine.
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 That is perfectly
It's very
fine.
specific here. Who's speaking to whom?
And the Kuni, verse 5,
Yeah.
because he cheweth the cud, but divideth not the hoof,
Right.
he is unclean to you.
See, chew it the cup, but the hoof is not.
Mm-hmm.
You're right. Very. Yeah.
And the hair, because he cheweth the cud, but divideth not the hoof, he is unclean unto you.
So rabbits,
The-
like in that picture,
Yep. And the swine,
the swine,
though he divideth the hoof,
right?
and be cloven-footed, yet he cheweth not the cud, he is unclean to you.
Is this not plain?
Yeah. You know, one of the things that I always find is that a lot of times people focus on the swine
Yeah,
And-
totally.
and forget everything else.
Yeah.
Like they'll eat rabbit, which is fine. They'll eat because I've even had somebody of a certain faith say that, okay, well, I'm like you, I don't eat pork, but I'll have some of the calamari.
Yeah.
I'll have the fried calamari, and calamari is
Squid.
squid.
It's seafood.
Yeah.
Yeah, which
But-
which we'll read on
Yeah.
later on. But
Mhm.
but we don't touch that.
We don't
as
eat that.
Israelites.
Right. And of their flesh shall ye not eat, and their carcass shall ye not touch. They are unclean to you. These shall ye eat of all that are in the waters, whatsoever hath fins and scales in the water, in the seas and in the rivers, them shall ye eat.
So whatever's in the waters must have fins
Yeah.
and scales.
That is the criteria.
Other
Fins
than
and
that?
scales. So, so a shark now.
a shark.
Has fins.
Fins, scales.
Nope.
No.
Has skin.
No. No.
Yeah.
And then it goes again back to Elder Gart's point. Again, logic and common sense.
Mhm.
They even eat people.
Yeah, sharks are
They,
predators.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're going to eat a person, and
That's
then you're
true.
going to go eat up that shark that just ate somebody
Mhm.
from your family.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Verse 10. And all that have not fins and scales in the seas and in the rivers, and of all that move in the waters, and of any living thing which is in the waters, they shall be an abomination unto you.
Wow.
So it's not even enough to say that it's unclean, but
A
it's
serious
abomination.
An
An
abomination.
Yes.
Yeah.
Serious.
It
stuff.
is. It's when something is classified as an abomination. It's so grotesque, so
Right.
inhuman
Right.
that
right.
it should be of that degree, or you should be
And
repulsed
back
by
to
it.
your point,
Yeah.
that word abomination was used with the swine,
Mhm.
and it's being used here. So again, it's not just about the swine.
Mhm.
You know, there's a lot of people who go, I don't eat the pork, and I don't eat the. Yeah,
but
this.
but seafood is okay. I mean, they would say seafood is okay, but we have just read that if it comes from the seas, if it comes from the rivers, it's got to have scales and it has to have fins.
Yeah.
And what I also like here, it says unto you. Again, going back to the Lord, the supreme God, passing this on to Moses and Aaron, and they are to teach this to the children of Israel. Unto you. It's not saying unto the world.
That is true. Verse 11, they shall be even an abomination unto you. You shall
Again.
not eat of their flesh, but ye shall have their carcasses in abomination.
Again.
Whatsoever hath no fins nor scales in the water, that shall be an abomination unto you. And these are they which ye shall have in abomination among the fowls. They shall not be eaten, that they are an abomination, the eagle, and the
Mhm.
offspring, and the offspray, and the vulture, and the kit after his kind, which is very important.
After his kind.
When you read that, after his kind, so
Yeah.
meaning
The
of
whole
its family.
The
Yes,
family.
exactly.
That family of bird, that
Exactly.
family of,
Yeah.
of so even if you are not the most scientifically inclined person, you should be able to look at something
Yeah.
and see whether or not should or shouldn't I. I mean, you sometimes when we get into a lot of these scientifical way of categorizing animals, sometimes it doesn't seem as if they're of the same family. I mean, all birds usually have feathers and they have wings,
Mhm.
but then when you see, like, for example, a turkey, and then you see a chicken, and they say, well, it's poultry, it's of the same family.
Mm.
But when you look at the two, one is a good 45 pounds bigger than the other. You know, it's very hard to say that, they're of the same family.
And
They might, once it's cut, the neck is cut, everything's all dressed, yeah, it looks
Yeah,
similar.
yeah.
But alive, the two of them are clearly are not of the same family.
Then if you look at a vulture's head and then you look at a turkey's head,
Yeah.
for example,
Then you
logic.
see the
wait,
similarities.
what's going on here?
Yeah.
This same family, same group, they have the same look. There's the same lineage here.
They've got the size, the head,
The head,
I mean,
the whole thing.
even certain characteristics in terms of when you see, for example, a bird of prey, their talons are one of their weapons.
Totally.
Now, a vulture, which is not a bird of prey,
Mhm.
they don't have very strong talons, so they
But
can't.
they have strong beaks for
Yes.
That's
ripping
right.
and
They're
tearing
ripping meat.
flesh and
Yeah.
breaking bones.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So you're looking at two different things. So of course, along with what's here, we see of its kind after his kind. So members of the Israelite nation worldwide ministries know we do not eat turkey. Now, verse 16.
Mm-hmm.
And the owl, and the nighthawk, and the cuckoo, and the hawk after his kind, and the little owl, and the cormorant, and the great owl, and the swan, and the pelican, and the geiger eagle, and the stork, the heron after her kind, and the lapwing, and the bat. All the fowls that creep among all fours shall be an abomination unto you. Yet these may ye eat of every flying creeping thing that goeth upon all fours, which have legs above their feet to leap withal upon the earth. And are we continuing on? Or are we still at...
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay,
Yeah. Let's
Yeah.
go
Verse
to
20.
30.
Go to, yeah.
okay. Verse 22, even of them Ye may eat the locust after his kind, and the bald locust after his kind, and the beetle after his kind, and the grasshopper after his kind.
Mhm.
But all other flying, creeping things which have 4 feet shall be an abomination unto you. And for these ye shall be unclean. Whosoever toucheth the carcass of them shall be unclean until the evening. And whosoever beareth aught of the carcass of them shall wash his clothes, and be unclean until the evening. The carcasses of every beast which divideth the hoof, and is not cloven-footed, nor cheweth the cud, are unclean unto you. Every one that toucheth them shall be unclean. And whatsoever goeth upon his paws, among all manner of beasts that go on all fours, those are unclean unto you.
Right. So could we eat a raccoon?
No. Could we eat a bear?
No.
Pause.
Pause.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dog.
Pause.
And again, you do have people who eat these things, and at the same time, they will actually go to their place of worship the next day, or even the same day, or maybe
Sure.
even have it at the picnic. Who knows?
That's right.
But I know in certain parts of the world that a lot of these animals are delicacies.
Yes. They're delicacies.
Yeah. Okay.
But unto Israel, as it states here, unto you.
These are unclean.
Mm-hmm.
And whosoever touches their carcass shall be unclean until the evening. And he that beareth the carcass of them shall wash his clothes and be unclean until the evening. They are unclean unto you, even down to the carcass of these animals.
Even the carcass.
Now it's important to explain what a
Yeah,
carcass is,
yeah.
because hey, I play football,
Mm-hmm.
but yet the football is made out of pigskin.
Mm-hmm.
So that means you're unclean every time you play football.
If it was a carcass, a rotting flesh,
Mhm.
you could see the bone and
That's the
everything
point.
else.
The flies buzzing around.
Yes. Now that's a carcass. The
It's
leather,
raw. It's raw.
the leather coat that you have, or the pigskin leather jacket that you
Mhm.
might wear,
Or the mink.
or the mink. These are not carcasses. So
They're
let's have we have to be clear on this, because you will have people that would say that because these items are made out of those materials, then you shouldn't touch them.
Right.
But not so. According to the scriptures, the carcass.
The carcass.
Okay. Now, verse 29. These
Yeah.
also shall be unclean unto you, the creeping things that creep upon the earth, the weasel,
The
and the
weasel.
mouse, and the tortoise, after his kind, and the ferret, and the chameleon, and the lizard, and the snail, and the mole. These are unclean unto you, all that creepeth. Whosoever doth touch them when they be dead shall be unclean until the evening.
Wow. Not just eat them.
Right. It's not just that. Are we continuing on?
I think that's it.
Yeah, I
That
think
should be
that's-
about
that
it
should be
there,
about
verse
it.
31. So
yeah.
you can see that it's very clear. The instructions that we were given were very specific, very detailed, and very orderly in terms of what we should eat
Mhm.
and what we should not eat. And, you know, if I may, can I just do this for just one quick second? If we can
Sure.
just flip to Genesis chapter 7,
Sure.
because this is important as well too, because a lot of times we get the impression that, okay, well,
Oh, I know where you're going.
Yeah, you
Elder
know
Fred.
that-
You're going to Noah.
yes,
Yeah.
we're going to go to Noah and the
Yeah.
situation that took place
There
there.
you go.
And the reason why is because a lot of times that,
Uh-huh.
again, in our conversations, you'll have the whole, well, this was the law at that time.
Right.
However, well, prior to that, you know, they could have been eating all these things.
Yeah. Yes.
But at the same time, you can see the wisdom in the scriptures in knowing that even according to the scriptures of Paul, what he says that the things that our forefathers did, such as Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, they did things even though that there was no law.
Yeah.
What their actions were like, they were a law unto themselves because of their righteousness and what
Sure.
they performed.
Mhm.
And the mere fact that they were obedient to the God of Israel and to their God, that made that a law. So they would live by example. And so here we see in Genesis chapter 7,
Mhm.
Elder Christrilli, if you may.
Sure. And the Lord said unto Noah, Come thou and all thy house into the ark, For thee have I seen righteous before me in this generation. I just want to mention here, Noah, out of all the people on the face of the earth and his family,
Yeah.
that was it. And of every clean beast thou shalt take to thee by sevens, the male and his female, and of the beasts that are not clean by two, the male and his female.
Right.
Ah, very nice.
All these movies and cartoons and everything with Noah's Ark always emphasize the 2 by 2.
Yep.
You haven't-
He
you
went
haven't
into
said-
the ark 2 by 2 by 2 by 2 by
Right.
2 by 2.
But it's clear that even Noah had a separation between clean and unclean beasts.
He knew that knowledge was there. He knew how to differentiate between clean and unclean, and this was before the flood. This was before the law was given. It was something that he knew internally.
But it's interesting how the world emphasizes the 2
2
by
by
2s
2.
and ignores the
Right.
7s.
That's very interesting how they focus on the unclean.
And not on the clean, not
No.
mentioned or
Yeah.
pictured
No.
at all.
And I want to believe that it's done purposely.
Yeah,
I don't think
must
that,
be.
that it's done by accident. That you just mentioned. I mean, think
Why
about
would they
it.
say 7 by 7?
Right. And that's so important.
Very important.
Yes, I mean, you take the clean ones in by 7. I mean, what were they going to eat? Think about it.
Yeah.
What were we going to eat during
Yeah.
that time? That 40 days and
Yeah.
40 nights, you're in the water. I mean, I don't think they were vegetarians.
Yeah.
I don't think there were any vegans around in those days.
You know, that's an excellent point, and I had not even thought about that. I've read the scripture a number of times, and I hadn't thought about that. That's an intriguing point, because the 2 by 2
Mhm.
meant that the unclean animals would be able to replenish the earth because they're there, but the 7 by 7s,
Mhm.
I mean, you may have to kill a chicken and eat it.
Yep.
You may have to kill a cow and eat it.
Yep.
And if you did kill the cow to eat it, to sustain yourself or whatever the case may be,
Mhm.
then there's still enough left over
Yeah.
to replenish the earth.
There you go.
Very good point.
Well, there's 8 people there,
Yeah.
right? There's 8 people. There's Noah and his wife,
Right.
the 3 sons and their wives.
And they were not vegans again.
Sure,
Mm-hmm.
No vegans.
sure.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting point.
Okay.
So now that Jesus has died on the cross,
Mm-hmm.
everything is okay now.
All right, so the infamous scripture
Uh-huh.
is Acts 10,
Right. Because
verse 15.
because you Israelites, all you do is read the Old Testament.
That's right.
That's what we're told.
And if you look in the New Testament, you'll see it right there. Acts 10, chapter 15, it says, "And a voice spake unto him again, the second time, What God hath cleansed, that call not thou common." There we have it.
I
As a
guess-
matter of fact, now that we've read that scripture, after we're done the show this afternoon, I'm heading to Red Lobster.
Oh.
And I'm going to have some
Yeah.
surf and turf.
Yeah, I guess.
I'm going to have a nice big juicy T-bone steak, and I'm going to have a bright red lobster right beside it dipped in garlic sauce.
I guess we've been wasting our time all these
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
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 I mean,
Hey, I hear these things taste really good too,
Oh.
right?
Oh, yeah.
The taste, like
all we had to do is read that one verse.
Yep. So I guess that's it, eh, fellas?
that's it,
Yeah,
eh?
that's it. That's,
That's
That's
it.
it. Okay.
Now let's head home.
Wrap it
So-
up. That's it.
Later.
Unfortunately.
Oh well, but that's
Look.
why don't we?
Look at here.
Revisit.
There's a whole bunch of other scriptures.
Yeah.
Oh, there is.
Just for the sake of argument, I mean, just to humor, why don't we read from the beginning of the chapter to see if we can get a background as to what led up
Oh,
to verse 15.
so are you saying it's dangerous to isolate a verse? Like if you just take a verse and you isolate it.
That may very well be what I'm saying.
Okay. So it's always good to see what's going on, who's talking to who,
That's
what's
right.
the
And
whole situation.
What's the environment? What were
yeah.
the people feeling?
Yeah.
What were the instructions
Makes sense.
given?
Yep.
You know,
But isn't that when you read a regular book, that's what you do?
yes.
Typically
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
but I don't. It behooves me as to why this is the only book.
Did you just say behoove?
It behooves me. Yes.
Behooves. Kind of appropriate.
This guy has the right first name, eh? Frederick. Only someone named Frederick Elder
Behooves.
Frederick would use the word behoove.
Behooves.
Yes, to
Behooves.
ponder as to why just this is the only book where you can take just the single verse.
Elder Frederick, I hope that your behooves are cloven.
As
That's why
always.
it's so
And-
appropriate.
And cheweth the cud.
I'm going to read from the first verse.
Oh, great.
It says, there was a certain man of Caesarea called Cornelius, a centurion of the band called the Italian band.
Oh wow!
Hey, one of
Hey,
my
Paisan.
descendants.
Paisan.
Paisan, hey.
My son,
What do you
what's
say?
going on?
Oh gosh, there's
Wow.
something about these
I'm so
Italians.
glad I'm sitting in on this.
Yeah. Well, for those of you listening, we're not being racist in any way, because Elder Castrilli is a Paisan.
Paisan.
So anyway, this gentleman named Cornelius, he was Italian, and obviously at this time, Rome was the occupying force over
Control.
Israel,
Yeah.
and obviously they, as the occupying force, they would leave battalions there to make sure that the people were under control. And here was Cornelius, a man who lived amongst the people for quite some time. And the second verse says he was a devout man and one that feared God
Yeah, that's-
with all his house.
Wow.
I'm sorry, but that's highly unusual.
Uh-huh. There you go.
That is highly unusual.
one that feared God and his
And-
whole house.
Yeah, because it's not saying the small g gods
Mhm.
as the Romans commonly did in
At
their
that time.
culture
Mhm.
at that
Mhm.
time.
Many.
They had many gods,
Mhm.
Right.
but yet they are speaking specifically that this particular man, this foreigner,
Mhm.
worshipped God, as in capital G God that the Israelites served. So
That's right.
there was a distinct separation
Yep, yep. That's the
Absolutely.
word.
between the gods that were being served and by which culture of people had
That's right.
served those gods. So this is quite interesting. So
Yes.
I'm sorry, I could not
Absolutely, no,
Yeah.
at the
let
time.
you
Yeah.
read past
And
that
it says
without-
with all his house,
Mhm.
okay?
Mm-hmm.
Which gave much alms to the people and prayed to God always.
Mhm.
He saw in a vision, evidently about the 9th hour of the day, an angel of God coming in to him and saying unto him, Cornelius. And when he looked on him, he was afraid and said, What is it, Lord? Now this in itself
It's huge.
is huge.
Yeah.
It's huge. It's huge.
Because, many people may talk about Paul on the road to Damascus,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but this is the first documented case we know
Mhm.
That's right.
of one of the heavenly host appearing onto
Mhm.
someone that was not
Right.
Israel.
Yeah.
And the reason why this is so important here today in the year 2012 is because you have people Who have-
People.
who have the knowledge of Israel, and they lay so much emphasis on the color issue
Mm-hmm.
and bypass the truth issue.
Absolutely.
And because they've come into that knowledge of this doctrine,
Mhm.
that they
They get all excited.
they get extremely excited to the point where they become, which is almost one of the most impossible things to do, for a child of Jacob to be racist.
Yep.
Mm,
Which is it's amazing when you see it happen.
Yes.
These are the same individuals that would say that Adam and Eve were black.
Right.
The same individuals who would not be able to see that if Adam and Eve were black and everyone came from Adam and Eve, everyone is the offspring of Adam and Eve.
Right.
Bottom
So
line.
if they're going to say anything bad about any other group of people, they should blame themselves, because the parent is often at blame for the actions of the child.
Indeed.
Hmm.
Indeed. Shall we continue?
Shall we?
Absolutely.
No, because it's going. Yeah, it's going. This is
We're
nice.
running out of time. So,
Whoa. Yeah.
So here we go, 4th verse. And when he looked on him, he was afraid. And he said, What is it, Lord? And he said unto him, Thy prayers, thy alms are come up for memorial before God. Now send men to Joppa, and call for one Simon, whose surname was Peter.
Wow.
He lodgeth with one Simon, a tanner, whose house is by the seaside. He shall tell thee what thou oughtest to do.
Mm.
Very, very critical.
Mm.
because what is important to notice here is that here is an angel appearing onto Cornelius,
Who is a Gentile?
who's a Gentile.
Gentile.
But why didn't the angel himself just tell
What to do.
Cornelius
Right.
what to do?
Well, so basically he said, go to this Israelite.
Yeah.
And
No?
the Israelite is
Right.
going to tell you what to do.
That's it. That's it.
Well, you think the angel didn't know what to do?
What do you think? What do you guys think?
That's
I don't even think
ridiculous.
that's a debate, right?
Of course the angel
Of
knew what
course.
to do, but there had to be a reason why the angel said,
Yes,
go
go
to
to
these men,
Yeah.
Yeah.
send men to these Israelites,
Yeah.
and ask them what
And
to
Yeah.
do.
if
Yeah.
you notice as well too, Elder Gareth, Elder Castrilli, is that he didn't just tell him to go to any old Israelite.
No.
Go to a specific Israelite
The specific.
who happened to be a disciple of this person, Jesus the Christ.
Actually, one of the
Ah.
three favorites,
Right.
Peter, James, and John.
So don't
Peter.
just go to any Israelite.
Go to Peter.
Yes,
Right.
specifically.
Peter.
Sir
Wow.
Peter, who is Simon, who is surnamed Peter.
That's correct.
Just so that you know specifically which one, and not just that, Peter. Simon, but the others. He's there
was
with another Simon.
That's the point.
Another Simon.
That's
So-
that's another lesson.
Yeah, it's
Right.
like
That's
it's like
another lesson.
going into an Italian neighborhood and saying, "Hey, Tony."
Hey, Tony. And half of the guys turn around.
What do you want? 7th verse. And when the angel which spake unto Cornelius was departed, he called 2 of his household servants and devout soldiers of them that waited on him continually. And when he had declared all these things unto them, he sent them to Joppa. 9th verse. On the morrow, as they went on their journey and drew nigh unto the city, Peter went up upon the housetop to pray about the 6th hour.
So there's these Gentiles that are going to see. They're on their way to see Peter.
Mhm.
This is what's happening at
This
this
is
time.
what's happening.
Now Peter goes up here, and as we read, to this housetop, right?
And he goes up to what?
Pray.
To pray.
About the 6th. Okay, beautiful.
And he became very hungry.
Wow.
So he's praying and he was hungry. But while they made ready, he fell into a trance. And saw heaven open.
While they're on their way there.
They're still coming. The men are
Okay.
still coming.
Okay.
He's still hungry.
He's hungry.
And he's having a spiritual experience.
Yes.
And he saw the heavens open, a certain vessel descending onto him, as it had been a great sheet knit at the 4 corners and let down to the earth, wherein were all manner of 4-footed beasts of the earth, and wild beasts, and creeping things, and fowls of the
We
air.
just read Leviticus 11. Right. Right.
And there came a voice unto him, Rise, Peter, kill, and eat.
Wow.
And what was his
What
answer?
was Peter's answer here?
But Peter said, Not so, Lord. Now, imagine this. Peter is arguing with the Spirit.
Yeah, because he is so.
Why would he argue with the
you
Spirit?
know, his lifestyle is never touched these things.
He's been
Let him-
born and raised that way.
Yeah, never touched
Yeah.
this stuff.
And bear in mind, this is the book of Acts. Jesus the Christ.
Had already
Jesus
come
is
down.
he's died.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
deceased at this
Yeah.
point in time.
Yeah.
So according to the logic that we've been fed all these years is that he came, died on the cross, and changed everything.
That's right.
So it's okay now.
Right.
Yeah.
So why would Peter say to the
Yes.
Spirit,
Yeah.
Not so, Lord?
Yeah. We're talking the Peter.
Peter, who had direct contact,
The Peter
and
that
he's
was
saying,
Yeah.
when you read it
He
here,
says,
I-
For I have
never,
never
not sometimes.
eaten anything that is common or unclean.
That is common. That is common to all the rest of the nations,
indeed.
or unclean.
And the
But-
voice
yeah,
spake
man.
unto him again the second time, What God hath cleansed, that call not thou common. But we have to continue reading.
That's
we
right.
we got to continue.
We can't stop there.
No.
16th verse says, This was done thrice
Three
or
times.
3 times.
Right.
And the vessel was received up again into heaven.
Wow.
Now while Peter doubted in himself, because he had just had a
What's
spiritual
going
experience,
on?
Yeah.
he questioned the
Yeah,
Spirit
yeah,
and
yeah.
said, Not so. What do
Yeah.
you mean?
And
Yeah.
for it to happen
Three times. Now
Three
he's saying,
times.
no. It happened 3 times. This is
This is
confirmation.
this is serious.
What's going on here?
Yeah.
But the scripture says, now while Peter doubted in himself
Interesting.
what this vision which he had seen should mean, behold, the men which were sent from Cornelius made an inquiry for Simon's house and stood before the gate.
Wow.
It's a thing of beauty when you
Yeah,
think about it.
Yeah, it's
As
great.
he had the dream, the
And-
trance,
and he was like
the
in,
men were on
man,
their way,
ah.
en route. As he
Ah.
doubted and as
what's
he
going
pondered,
on, and-
you can imagine he's sitting there going, what is going
What
on?
is this, man? What is this?
Yeah.
And there's a
Right.
knock at the door,
Beautiful.
and the men
That Cornelius.
that Cornelius sent, the men of the band, which was called Italian Gentiles, who they were referred to as unclean people,
That's right. That's right.
appeared
Their
at
lifestyle,
his door.
their culture, totally different than Israel.
18th verse, and called and asked whether Simon, which was surnamed Peter, were lodged there. While Peter thought on the vision, the Spirit said unto him, behold, 3 men seek thee. So the
3
Spirit
men
were
seek thee.
still there.
I'm getting goosebumps.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
gotta get
As we're
goosebumps.
reading
This
this.
You
is-
gotta
this
get
is-
goosebumps.
This is so plain.
It is.
Because Peter had the experience 3 times.
Yep.
You're right.
There was a knock on the door, and while Peter thought on the vision, the Spirit said unto him, behold, how many men? 3 men
men.
seek thee.
Yes.
Arise therefore, get thee down, and go with them, doubting nothing,
Doubting-
for I have
sent
sent them.
Doubting.
So wait a second.
Nice.
Wait a second. Think on this for a second. I have sent them. So whoever it was that gave Cornelius the instructions to send men to Joppa went to Peter, gave Peter the vision. Peter doubted that person or that entity or that being, and that being turned around and said, 3 men are looking for you. Go with them because I have sent them.
The Spirit with a capital
Full
S.
Circle.
Full circle.
Full.
And what's so beautiful about this
Beautiful,
is
man.
because it's unprecedented.
Never happened before.
This had
Never
never happened before.
And it's appropriate with Peter, eh?
Yeah.
Peter.
21. Then Peter went down to the men which were sent unto him from Cornelius, and said, behold, I am he whom ye seek. What is the cause wherefore ye have come?
Wow.
And they said, Cornelius the centurion,
Yeah.
a just man, and one that feareth God, and of good report among all the nation of Jews, was warned from God by an holy angel to send for thee into his house
And here it
to
is.
hear words of thee.
Wow.
Then called he them in and lodged them.
Wow. That is huge too, huh?
That is big, because that's never happened.
That's never happened.
Yep.
No.
And on the morrow Peter went away with them, and certain brethren from Joppa accompanied him.
Well, the next day, man. Nice.
And the morrow after they entered into Caesarea, and Cornelius waited for them, and had called together his kinsmen and near friend. And as Peter was coming in, Cornelius met him, and fell down at his feet, and worshipped him. Imagine this. This is Cornelius the centurion,
Yeah.
the leader of the battalion,
He's got a whole bunch of men under him.
Yeah.
He's got a big
who
time
was sent
control.
there to keep these
Yeah,
rowdy
yeah,
Israelites
yeah.
in check,
Yeah.
is bound down
Down
to
to this
Peter.
Israel.
And not only
yeah.
that, in front of all his kinsmen
Yeah. Yeah.
and near friends.
Shows humility, huh?
Yeah.
Humility.
Now, again, because of the fact that the Romans are occupying Israel,
Mm-hmm.
they're coming in there with full force. And
Yes.
an army so fierce and so vast that
The most
they-
powerful army on the earth.
on the
Yeah.
earth. They
Yeah,
swept through.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there was nothing to withhold them. But here you have a centurion.
Bowing down to Peter. And what did
Mhm.
Peter say?
Mhm.
So Cornelius showed humility,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
what did Peter say?
There we go.
Unlike some
Peter-
of the people that we
know, yes.
not to mention
Yeah.
any
Yeah.
names.
Benny Hinn. But Peter took him up,
Yeah. Verse
saying,
26.
stand up,
Mhm.
I myself also am a man.
Wow. There you go.
Yeah.
And as he talked with
We're
him,
getting there.
he went in and found many that were come together.
Here we go.
And he said unto them, Ye know how that it is an unlawful thing for a man that is a Jew to keep company
Wow.
or come unto one of another nation.
There you go.
Here it is.
Okay.
This is what sums it
Yeah,
up, everyone.
Yeah, and that's it.
But God, I want to pause there.
Please.
But God hath showed me that I should not call any what?
Any
Man.
common
or
unclean.
unclean. Any
Period.
man.
End stop. Full stop.
Yeah.
That's it.
Ooh.
Close the book.
Ooh.
Plug out the mics. Turn off the monitor.
Yeah.
Shut down the studio.
Ooh.
Let's go home
Yeah.
because that's
It's over.
it. It's over. It's
Mhm.
done. That's the bombshell.
Elvis has left the building.
Elvis has left the building. The fat lady has definitely sung the last stanza. It's over, people. That's it.
Yeah.
It's not going to be very popular. Not this. So plain.
But you know, Elder Castrilla, the
Yes.
truth is never something that is popular.
Never.
Contrary to popular belief. If you tell the truth, everybody's going to want to hear you and listen to you, but that's not true.
No. And you know what? There are some people that are listening that have just read that and heard it broken down in that way. That
Simple.
would still doubt.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Because this has nothing to do with unclean beasts.
Nothing
No.
at all. Has nothing,
Nothing
to
to
do
do with unclean
Leviticus
beasts.
11 and none of that. Has nothing to do with it.
Because he said, this vision was about men.
Yes.
And the way in which things were orchestrated,
Oh my gosh.
you know, Mozart couldn't have put it together.
Yeah. It's so clear. There is absolutely no interpretation needed, which is why we never want to fall into that trap of reading scriptures in isolation. Never do that.
That's right.
Never.
That's right. That's why if we allow a man to say, okay, interpret this and write the interpretation for us, and this is the Bible you should read, that's why we read the King James Bible.
Very much so.
Yeah.
So why would you spend your entire life trying to do what is right in the sight of God, but he specifically left instructions, an entire chapter in the book of Leviticus, in terms of what you should eat and what you shouldn't eat. But you're going to throw that all away, and you're going to eat whatever you want to eat because you think it tastes good or it tastes like chicken.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You see, that's the important. That's what separates us. Is that we take it to heart. There is a conviction as to what we do. It's not on the surface. It's not a matter of just, okay, well, it's there. No, we take this to heart. That's what makes us who we are as individuals, as part of this
'Cause
nation.
it's personal.
It is very personal.
It's personal. Somebody who reads this book that calls themselves by another name could not take this personal.
Not at all. And not only that, you wouldn't be able to understand what's being spoken about here. You'd shy away from it. Some people would shy away from certain verses, certain things that have happened and taken place, and
Not so,
not
Lord.
want to own up to it.
Yes.
Not want to own. I mean, this book is filled with both the good, the bad, the ugly, the indifferent. And
Yeah.
in order for you to walk in the footsteps of these men and these women, you're going to have to be prepared to face that truth. Am I willing to actually, take all of this on? Because it is a very tough pill to swallow for those who it's not meant for. It's not a path for everybody.
And it brings me back to the words of Jesus the Christ when he said, "Think not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill."
Indeed.
So this is part of the law.
Yeah.
And it has not changed.
And then, sorry, Elder Christopher, but the argument for that is going to be, well, Christ is the fulfillment of the law.
But look,
When you read further,
when you read further,
Christ was the fulfillment of the law.
Uh-huh.
Peter, when he had the vision,
Yeah.
would not have said, "Not so, Lord."
that's right.
He would have just ate it because Christ was the fulfillment of the law.
Yeah.
And now we don't have to worry about those things, so
Right.
just eat it all up.
And
here's the other
Peter,
thing
Peter be
is-
the first one to receive it, his
Sure.
buddy, right?
And
He
here's
would
the
say,
other
Peter,
thing.
you come on, you can eat
Yeah.
whatever you want, man.
Christ fulfilled his portion of the law. What are you doing?
Exactly.
He fulfilled the law, yeah,
Yeah.
but what's in it? What do you have to do?
Yeah.
And then
And
when
see
you
you
read
up on a
further-
cross.
and when you read further down, not one jot or
Not
tittle
one.
shall in no wise pass
That's right.
from the law
Till
That's
all.
until all be fulfilled.
That's right.
Until heaven and earth
Now, yeah,
pass.
that's the next verse. I'll read that. For verily I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass, one jot or one tittle shall in no wise pass from the law till
Until
all be fulfilled.
Now, as far as I know, we still stand and sit here on this planet Earth.
Earth, yeah.
I can't testify for heaven, but I'm quite sure that it's still there.
Yeah, sure.
Absolutely. This was a good
Wow.
good discussion. I
Wow.
like this because it is crystal clear. There's not much argument.
No.
I know I've had these discussions with people of different, let's just say, denominations before, and pretty much left them speechless because they had nothing to say. But you know, that's why I like who we are and what we do.
Indeed. Indeed. It has been a pleasure to speak and to be joined by you two, Elder Garth, Elder Castrilli. We're going to have to do this again very, very soon. So again, if you do have any questions, please contact Israelite Nation Worldwide Ministries at www.israelitenation.com, or please send us an email, questions@israelitenation.com. Until we meet again next Saturday, I am Elder Frederick Malcolm.
I'm Elder Garth Baugh.
And I'm Elder Castrilli.
And it has been a pleasure being with you today. Thank you very much. And everyone, please have yourself a wonderful and safe weekend.
Thank you.
The following program is for educational purposes only. It was prepared primarily for the healing of the children of slavery, their friends, and supporters. This presentation stands on the precepts and principles of the 1611 English publication of our Holy Scriptures, and it builds on the secrets of the old Negro spirituals, addressing the unique history and culture of the Israelite nation, God's chosen people. This presentation may contain explicit content that could be considered unpleasant. For example, the physical and spiritual enslavement of the children of slavery. We are proud to distinguish ourselves by following the instructions of our forefathers, and we place much value on our obedience to the wisdom of our Israelite prophets, our elders, and our priests, because to obey is to learn and to grow, but to disobey is to sow the seeds of our own disobedience, shame, and poverty. Personal discretion is advised.
Okay, at this time we are going to take this segment of the program to read a couple of questions from our email bags. However, I'd like to state, I'll take this time to mention that if you have a question concerning one of our previous broadcasts, or just a general question about the Bible, you can email us at atlanta@israelitenation.com. You can also listen to previous shows by visiting us at israelitenation.com. Or on our Facebook friends, you can visit us by typing Friday Night Live. No space between the words Friday and night. All right, we are going to begin with the first question from our email. And that question comes from Brandon from Memphis, Tennessee. And Brandon writes, "Me and my friend have been debating the creation story. My friend says it took more than 7 days. What is your opinion?"
Well, Brendan, it seems like you have a fairly smart friend. He is possibly correct in what he is suggesting. And first of all, I think we should take a look at the scriptures and see what the scriptures have to say. Let's take a look at Psalms 90, verse 4.
Okay, we're going to read Psalms 90, verse 4, and it reads, "For 1,000 years in thy sight are but as yesterday when it is past, and as a watch in the night."
So 1,000 years are as yesterday. In other words, one day. 1,000 years in the sight of God is like a day. And to complete this, or to explain a little bit further, in 2 Peter 3:8, I think there is also a better or more precise explanation.
Yes, sir. All right, we're going to read 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 8, and it reads, "But, beloved, be not ignorant of this one thing, that one day is with the Lord as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years as one day."
So that's pretty explicit, and I think it demonstrates the different levels of understanding, and it shows that we have situations where a lot of people tend to want to look at God through their own eyes, or want God to behave according to their understanding. But it's the opposite. The God of Israel has his way of doing things. It's a whole different dimensional factor, and we should not expect that the God of Israel is going to behave in the manner that humans behave. So let us take a look further, though, at the pattern of creation. And as we read some of these scriptures in the book of Genesis at the beginning, we could look, and we could take it one day at a time and look for the wisdom of the God of Israel and try to appreciate exactly what this whole method of creation was like.
Okay. We're going to read in the book of Genesis chapter 1, beginning at verse 1. And it reads, "In the beginning God created the heaven and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And God said, Let there be light, and there was light. And God saw that the light, that it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And the evening and the morning were the first day."
So if we could just stay and try to understand some of what transpired. We have water, and then day and night. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Right. So there is no specific description on how the water was created, but we know that the Spirit of God is moving on this water, and out of the water then is going to come everything else that was created. So we can only assume that all of this activity, from the water to the Spirit moving to the first day to the first night, all of that, the separation of the two, would have taken some time.
And so interesting about that verse is, when I see scientists and they're going to Mars, the first thing that they have